What's going on, everyone? It's Adam and Craig with Grandstand Golf. This is our PGA DFS sleepers for the 2021 Memorial Tournament. Before we head up to Ohio, Craig, as we do every week, let's take a look back to see how our sleepers did for the Charles Schwab. 3 of 6 made the cuts, 2 top 15s. Those 3 just happened to be your sleepers, though. I was over.
Yeah. I'd like to thank my wife really for supporting me through this.
Okay.
It was a good one. I mean, it was one of these ones where I didn't actually do a great job getting either 6 of 6s through. I mean, I had some, but they just weren't my top lineups. But then also, I didn't have co-crack. And so it was one where I broke even without doing a lot of things you need to do to typically win in GPPs. But
it's a little bit of a chalky week, and I consider myself a contrarian kid, so it is what it is.
I tried to go more contrarian with my picks this week, so.
Yeah, me too a little bit, as we always do. Yeah. But shout out, we always like to ask for your top sleeper, plant your flag. Last week, Howard Rose went with Patton Kizzire, finished T3, great sleeper. I think he was 7,400 on DraftKings, so nice call by Howard Rose there with the Patton Kizzire.
Yeah, for sure. And as for this week, Memorial Tournament, best sleeper under 7,500, let us know, and maybe you'll get the top one next week.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter at Grandstand Golf. It's right there. Subscribe to our channel. Hit that thumbs up button. And our sleepers rule, it's under 7,500 on DraftKings. Not the most chalky plays. We kind of try to find guys that are kind of sneaky to fill into your lineup. That's what we consider a sleeper. Fair enough?
Yeah, some of mine. Well, I've got a little bit of chalk, a little bit of not chalk this week.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump into it. First one, Stewart Cink, 7,500 on DraftKings, 34th, 40th on FanDuel, 8,900. So he is right at the top of what we consider a sleeper. I just the more I look into this tournament, I couldn't get away from Stewart Cink. So like you said, I'm going to have some that are way out there further in the show. This one is not. I just kind of feel like I have to plug in Stewart Cink this week. It's so glaringly obvious. He's coming into 5 straight made cuts. 3 of those are top 20s, and he has that win at the RBC Heritage. His ranks in the field for the past 6 months, this is via Data Golf. He is 26 strokes gained total plus 1.08. So compare that to his 34th price on DraftKings. I think that's value. He's 9th in strokes gained approach at plus 0.95. That is the most important stat that we found in our model, and I think that's kind of shown at Muirfield over time that strokes gained approach is very, very key. And he's just strokes gained positive in 16 of his last 21 rounds. Kind of shows that he is playing very, very well as of late. And then Craig, his history at Muirfield, it's awesome. For a guy of Stewart Cink's age, he's played in 24 events here, going back to the late 90s, 24 tournaments at Muirfield, 11 top 25s. Across that entire time, only 2 missed cuts. So clearly something going right here. His strokes gained total is plus 1.56. I do have to say, he has played here before strokes gained was even a statistic. So that doesn't encompass his whole history here, but he's played here a lot, and he clearly plays well here with 11 top 25s compared to 2 missed cuts.
Yeah, there's not a lot of guys left that we're talking about at DFS circles that we need to go back to the pre-strokes gained era to try to understand their numbers. But no, I mean, 24 events, that's crazy. I think there's a bit of a course history bump when you get that kind of sample size. Stewart Cink was in, I like to make a few lineups before we even get into doing our picks or building a player pool. He was in the first lineup I built. So I like him. I don't know. It'll be curious to see how popular of a play he is this week, because even as he has had good results, it's not exactly like ownership has been piling on him. People seem to think it's not going to repeat.
Yeah, no, I agree. And his top 10s aren't necessarily there. He's got those couple wins on the season, and he's got some top 25s, but the kind of top 10s, not so much. So maybe that scares people. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. A real strokes gain attitude guy as well.
Yeah.
My other guy I had in my first click lineup, Kevin Streelman, 7,500 as well on DraftKings. That's actually, I built a fairly balanced one with my first one. That was as low as I went with both of those two. But Kevin Streelman, 7,500, 34th in pricing on DraftKings, 9,500, 27th on FanDuel. It kind of looks good from most angles. You look at this one. It's a momentum play, I would say. The last 3 months, he's 26th in the field in strokes gained total, just over a stroke. But then 6 months, 12 months, he's just under a full stroke around that he's gaining. 31st, 25th, even 2 years, he's still just, I think, slight value on the 34th pricing. He's 30th in strokes gained total at 0.76 strokes gained around. So, the recent form, he's got a single missed cut in his last 7 starts. So this is all reflected in that more recent, the 3-month strokes gained total data. But
right.
When he has made the cut, 6 top 36s. So he's working his way into the top half of the people who have made the cut, which you like to see. 2 top 10s. But the thing that I like to see the most, so this is included even his missed cut tournament. He has been positive strokes gained ball striking in all 7 of those tournaments.
Yeah.
Over those 7 tournaments, he's averaging a stroke around just with his off the tee and approach play. I just love to see that. I think that's also why Streelman he's the chalkiest one I think that I have as a sleeper pick this week. He's going to be popular. The form has been good. It's not catching anyone by surprise. I think especially when you're, in one of the last groups at the major, it catches people's eye.
Yeah.
But then last thing, course history. I think there's upside there. It is not a perfect course history, but it has the good top end finishes. He's got 13 starts. This includes both Memorial tournaments and then also the Workday Charity Open last year. But 13 starts, 4 missed cuts. So you don't like to see that. That's more missed cuts you'd like to see for 13 starts. But 6 top 20s, just about half the time, and 4 top 10s. So about a quarter of the time, he's getting into the top 10, which for someone like Streelman, that is a great payoff to roster him at 7,500.
Yeah, no, I agree. The ownership thing, though, I don't think it'll creep up that high just because, my first kind of look through it, there's a lot of guys at 76. You got Cink at 75 and other guys at 75, some good guys at 74. It seems like there's a lot of options in that area. If it was kind of more sparse, maybe he would get ownership, but I think Streelman's kind of still being a little bit slept on. But he has been playing great recently.
Well, and he wears the sunglasses on the back of his head, which I think that really keeps it, a good 5% less owned than otherwise.
Really triggers people. Triggers people. Yeah. Okay, my second pick here. I'm going Cam Davis. Don't call him Cameron. It's Cam Davis now. 7,000 on DraftKings, 51st there. A little bit better on FanDuel, 57th, 8,400. If you've been watching our channel for a while, you know how much of a crush I have on Cam Davis's game. His left-handed swing is better than most people's right-handed swing on tour. I think it's just absolutely majestic. But I think I haven't talked about him in a while. Talk about him as showdown plays because he can pop, but I feel like his form's kind of coming around a little bit. So his last 7 starts, he has 3 top 35s, 1 missed cut. So clearly kind of cherry picking that 35 number, but a lot of kind of the 30, 40th type placing recently, which is okay, but we're still getting him at 51st price here. We're getting him 7,000. His ranks over the past 6 months, he's 38th strokes gained total, plus 0.73, 34th strokes gained approach at plus 0.46. Again, I feel like those aren't really standing out. They're good, but we know how much higher he can go, how he can pop. I kind of talked about on the pick show of this kind of being like a U.S. Open or like a major light. And I feel like his profile fits that a little bit. So he hits it far. Fairways, not so much. That's not what we're going to find with Cam Davis, but he does hit it a long way. Can he get it? I think he can get out of the rough. His rough, greens and regulation isn't bad, but he has a very high apex. He hits it really high. 9th on the PGA Tour. These are going to be hard greens. I feel like if you can get it high, maybe you can stick a little bit closer. His scrambling isn't great. That'd probably be my biggest worry with Cam Davis. Is his scrambling going to be able to, or going to hold him back a little bit? But it's a high upside play that I think I'm going to make in, maybe 10 to 20% of my lineups this week. History here, he played in 18 and he played it in 2020 for the Workday Charity Open, not the Memorial. 2 missed cuts. One kind of by, I think, 2 strokes, one by another one by 2 strokes. So kind of right there, but I'm not holding it against him. It's a limited kind of sample size that we've seen from him. His stroke gain is kind of barely negative over those 4 rounds, but I just feel like it is a good place where if he does find fairways and his approach is on, he can absolutely jump up the leaderboard quickly.
Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit with Cam Davis. Maybe it's just because I've been playing him for so long without any sort of decent return, and I feel like fool me once. I think I mean, I haven't made my player pool yet, but I think likely I'm going to kind of put him in my showdown pile for this week because I want to
Yeah.
see. Uh, so I think that he has very high end results in him. Like he has the talent to do that. I just don't know if I'm going to be patient enough to play him until that happens, or if I'm gonna be like, okay, I see that he's figured it out, and now I'll jump on the bandwagon once it's already rolling down the track. But obviously, if you want to get the payout in DFS, you're gonna have to try to jump on it before it hit. Before he starts to accelerate his finishes. So I don't know. I think it might be a showdown play for me this week.
I had Carlos Ortiz slotted here for a while, exact same price. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to play a little bit more Cam Davis. I just like it maybe it is that kind of, I see this potential in him and I'm going to play him early. And if he around the 7K, 6K mark, it seems crazy to me. And a year from now, he could be in the eights, So I'm going to try to play him just based on potential. And I think this is a kind of a good fit for potentially a higher.
Yeah, the one thing I would say is we, on our picks show yesterday, we spoke about some of our, a few of my picks were kind of lower, say, more high risk, high reward. And so Cam Davis is someone that I would probably pair more with your safer high end picks, because if he pops, like the chance of him popping and Hideki finding his putter and Colin Morikawa finding his putter, like all of those things lining up perfectly is more of a long shot than, say, a Finau top 10 and a Cam Davis top 10 and like those the stars aligning essentially.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, my next one here, Russell Henley, 7,200 on DraftKings, 43rd in pricing, 9,100 on FanDuel, 35th in pricing. So I just think this is a value. I think this one is a little bit where we're catching his price is falling relative to the field. He's being priced around different people than he was, maybe 3-6 months ago. So 3 months, essentially, if you look at it, his more recent results have not been as good as his long-term play. You look at 2 years, 12 months, he was 26th, 19th in the field in strokes gained total. He's gaining, in the last 12 months, he's gaining over a stroke, almost a stroke and a quarter a round, which is pretty darn good. But then you look at the last 3 months, 6 months, it's fallen, it's 35th, 39th in the field, not as great. So a lot of those results were sort of from the fall that we saw Henley pop. But to me, it's a long-term risk-reward play. He is elite with his approach play, plus 0.84 over the last 2 years, which is third behind only Justin Thomas and Colin Morikawa. So that is not a bad group to be third in. And you look at, so this is where I think you kind of are looking at the upside potential. Like a Henley, maybe he has, there's guys I could have chosen as sleepers that I might feel safer about them making a cut or making a top 30. But Henley, 7 top 10s in his last 27 starts. So we do have a lot of higher finish potential, I think, with him. And you look, I think that's perfectly captured in his most recent 5 tournaments, or 5 stroke play tournaments. 3rd, 9th, miscut, 72nd, 71st. 72nd, 71st, that's basically last place after you've made a cut. So we see some of the good and we see some of the bad, and that's just sort of how it's going to be with Henley. And so it's, come next week in our sleepers video, it might be, he was a top 10, or it might be, it was miscut. I'd say those are fairly equal, but I'll take a shot on a guy that I don't think for his pedigree is going to be that highly owned. And then you come at it with good course history, 6 starts, 2 missed cuts, 4 top 33. So every time he has made the cut, he has gotten his way into the top 33, and that's the 2 top 10s to go along with that. So I think there's good upside. I think there is downside, though. So don't go 80% on Russell Henley.
It's kind of like if you like Patrick Cantlay at the PGA, if you like Kevin Kisner last week at the Charles Schwab, Henley fits that mold. He's kind of, his recent form, like very recent form, isn't great, but what we've even seen of him in 2021 has been really good. And these guys can turn it around quickly enough. I mean, when we're getting Russell Henley at 7,200, but people 2 months ago were still plugging him in at 8,500, whatever his price was, and he was still a good play back then. We're getting a discount on Russell Henley, and as a second shot golf course, which this is, one of the best approach players in the field for really any sample size you want to look at, Henley's still a good play. So He's going to be my player pool for
Yeah,
sure.
and off the tee is not his strength, but he is more accurate than long, which is, I think, what fits the course.
Yeah. Okay, Craig, my last sleeper here, my third sleeper. I'm going Takumi Kanaya out of Japan, 6,100 on DraftKings, 105th on FanDuel, 74th, 97th. So I'm going to go to the last point here first. It's Tuesday morning when we're recording this. I've heard all this chatter about Kyle Stanley. Kyle Stanley is the play at 6,100. I think, and kind of what happened to Whaley last week at Charles Schwab, ownership completely swarmed there. And I think Kyle Stanley in a lot of these GPPs is going to be 10, 15% owned, which to me seems a little bit crazy. If you want to have a little piece of that, okay. But I mean, there's pivots around there. And I think a guy with a bright future with tons of talent is Takumi Kanaya, and I think he's worth a look. So exact same price on DraftKings, and this is why I think he might be a good pivot, throwing maybe 10%, 15% of your lineups if you want to get a little bit risky here. So last 12 starts worldwide, he's been all over the globe. 7 starts in Japan, 2 wins, 7 top 16. So he kind of dominates over there when he plays. It's like a top 15 or better. Most are top 5s. He's got 2 wins. He's playing really well. This is why he's the top. I think he's 81st in the world right now. Like his official world golf ranking is better than a lot of the guys in the field. PGA Euro, he's played in Southern Euro. He's played a couple majors. He's over here, I think, for the Zozo was one of them. He has 1 top 10 and 2 missed cuts. He missed the cut at the PGA Championship. I don't really think that's his strength, and I'll talk about that in a second. That miscut doesn't worry that much. His top 10 came at the Omega Dubai Desert Classic, so nice to see in a pretty decent field he had a top 10 there in, outside of the Japan Tour, on the European Tour or PGA, which is a little bit harder strength of field. What does his game look like? This is from Data Golf, the first 2. He's 12th over the past 6 months in around the green at plus 0.43. He's 51st in strokes and putting at 0.22. Those are both from Data Golf, which collects from all over the tours and kind of creates their own level of how they fit within the tours. And then taken from the Japan Tour website, he is 69th in greens and regulation, which is 5th on that tour. So accurate over distance is what he is. And I think that's why he wasn't very good at Kiowa, but he might be a little bit better here as kind of a accurate guy, short gamer. So yeah, I very much like his long-term form, but this might be a really, really, really sneaky pivot at 6,100 this week.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. I was just trying to look up, Hideki won this tournament. Hideki Matsuyama won this tournament when he was very young. So I was trying to see what his form. He had pretty darn good form. Sometimes I think I forget how good Hideki was at a very at a very young age, because he already had multiple top 10s that year on the PGA Tour. But as far as so first off, I think Kyle Stanley at 6,100. Russell Knox is also at 6,100. So there is going to be a lot of ownership going down there. I think Kanaya is going to be under 1% or right around. I would say it is a dart throw. So like commit very small percent. Like this is one of the ones where you want to sprinkle it amongst a bunch of players like this. But yeah, I think that the talent's there. It's just a matter of when we're going to start to see results, more internationally. And I don't think, I agree. I think it's a good fit. So,
play however much you're comfortable losing, really. I mean, this is DFS. That's what you always have to do, but do a little research on him. Like he made the cut at the Masters. He always, I think that's a pretty good course comp. I mean, for Muirfield sometimes plays tough, plays a little bit long. So he made the cut there as a pretty young golfer. So just do some research. I think it's an interesting kind of pivot.
Yeah, this is like, if you're looking at your investment portfolio, you got all your blue chips and you got this little percent that you put into the high risk, high rewards. And it's Takumi.
This is Tesla, 10 years ago.
Oh, well, that's quite the claim. Okay, my last one here. Alex Noren, 6,800 on DraftKings, 61st in pricing, 8,600 on FanDuel, 49th. So to me, this one, this is one where I tried to go with a little bit of a contrarian play. I'm not going to play it at a very high percentage, but I'm going to plug it in as kind of a differentiating play. I think it'll be a differentiating play. So last 3 months, he's been 0.7 strokes gained total. He's 44th in the field. And then you look, essentially, it's around there. And over the last 2 years, he's 38th in the field at 0.6. So I think there's just a little bit of a value edge here. You have long-term in terms of strokes gained total. Only a single missed cut in his last 8 starts, including 5 straight cuts made coming into the week. 4 top 25s, no top 10s. So that's looking at the last 8 starts. 4 top 25s, no top 10s. So a little concerning that he is not sort of popping to get high-end finishes, but there are enough good finishes. I do think the one thing to me, there's a little bit of ball striking concerns. The off the tee play has been decent, and I think it's not just like he has a couple tournaments where he's gained large off the tee of recent. So these numbers here at the bottom, those are strokes gained numbers for the last 3 months. So it's sort of looking at recently what he has been doing. But off the tee, he's gained somewhat consistently small amounts throughout the last few weeks. 52nd in the field here. The approach play is what concerns me. So he's minus 0.2, 84th in the field. He is someone who essentially, sort of like a Christian Bezuidenhout, he gains consistently with his short game. And then essentially when he has positive ball striking weeks, he really starts to pop up leaderboards. But I think, so essentially one of the things I like about Noren, so there's some people where you very reliably, they're gaining here, they're losing there. He is one of these players that can gain in every category. And then you'll look at his recent results and be like, okay, he's been kind of in the 20s for the last few weeks, but he, 1 week his around the green play was really good. 1 week his approach play was good. 1 week his putting was really good. And so those kind of guys that do have all the skills at different times, you do get them all lining up at points, and then that's when they really can pop up leaderboards. So that would be, the case I would make for him. He doesn't have a long history at Muirfield, just 2 starts. Muirfield Village, I should say. We're not in Scotland.
That is true. Yes.
But yeah, just 2 starts, a missed cut, and I believe 48th. So nothing really to hang your hat on in terms of course history. I just think it's a slight value edge that I'll be playing.
Yeah, I like the DraftKings, 61st there compared to FanDuel 49. So maybe it's kind of, if you're value shopping on a couple different sites, that's something to look at. I haven't made my player pool yet. I haven't started building roster, so I don't know what's going to happen to me in that range. I just kind of, like you were kind of alluding to, a guy I have a trouble just kind of getting a wrap on and knowing when he's going to pop at certain times. So his history is there, and he's a very strong golf or when he's on, but I just don't it's hard for me to get a read on him.
And that's why ultimately I just want to include some of these ones that I'm going to be playing that are not just necessarily the chalky ones. Like this one is one I'll be playing at a lower percentage that I think does have some upside.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, we're going to talk about our entire player pools, all the guys we like, and the 6K, 7Ks, all that on our live DFS show Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. We put up our DFS model. We go through the entire field, do Q&A, chat, all that good stuff. That's kind of where I think it's the best show of the week. So make sure you subscribe to our channel, ring the bell to know when that show is coming up. Craig, anything else to add?
Just remember to call your shot. Favorite sleeper under 7,500 on DraftKings.
All right. Good luck this weekend.
Good luck. See you next time.